Welcome to Module 1, Lesson 4, The Cost and Value of Complaints. In the hospitality industry, a complaint is almost universally dreaded. It is seen as an unwelcome intrusion, a sudden time stopper that threatens to derail the smooth running of your service, stress out your staff, and shatter workplace harmony. Think of a flawless dinner service or a perfectly coordinated hotel check-in like a glass of clear water. A single complaint acts like a heavy drop of dark ink hitting that surface. It doesn't sit neatly in one place. It disperses instantly, clouding the entire environment and breaking the flow of the operation. The most immediate damage is to the bottom line. When an unhappy guest brings an unresolved issue to your attention, the quickest fix usually involves handing money back, comping a meal, discounting a room rate, or issuing a full refund. Individually, these concessions might seem small, but over time, they add up to a measurable, constant drain on revenue. This chart compares the economics of keeping a guest versus finding a new one. The math is straightforward. Guest retention requires a fraction of the investment compared to the substantial marketing and operational premium needed for new guest acquisition. When an unresolved complaint drives a guest away, you lose their repeat bookings, forcing you to constantly spend out of that taller, more expensive bar just to maintain your baseline. Then there is the reputational cost. In the digital age, a dominant one-star review on a major travel site can deter hundreds of potential guests at once. Whether the establishment believes the complaint was exaggerated or entirely unfair, the internet treats a guest's subjective experience as objective fact. A mishandled issue at the front desk can snowball into public dissatisfaction that keeps customers away for months. Behind the scenes, the damage continues to compound. Dealing with difficult, frustrated guests requires immense emotional labor from your personnel. Taking in that stress and constantly managing conflict leaves even the best teams exhausted, lowering motivation and accelerating burnout. This diagram illustrates how a localized problem becomes a structural crisis. Staff burnout feeds directly into service degradation. Tired, demoralized employees make mistakes or drop their enthusiasm. That drop in quality generates increased complaints, which in turn causes more burnout. It spins into a continuous, self-sustaining downward loop. If an organization fixates entirely on these financial and emotional tolls, they end up operating from a place of fear. Management builds defensive policies, and the entire team chases the impossible goal of completely eliminating human error, rather than learning how to effectively respond to it. To break out of that defensive mindset, we must change what a complaint means to us. We have to stop interpreting negative feedback as a personal attack on our hospitality skills and start treating it as raw, unfiltered data. Standard surveys and comment cards rarely tell the whole story. Guests tend to offer polite generalities when filling out a form. A live complaint, driven by genuine frustration, offers brutal specificity. It pinpoints exactly what feels lacking and highlights specific pain points in your delivery. When you review these incidents en masse, the individual emotions strip away and clear patterns emerge. If multiple tables complain about slow service, it points to understaffing or a gap in training. Persistent gripes about room temperature or lobby noise identify environmental flaws that need structural fixes. Viewed through this lens, a frustrated guest is actually doing you a favor. They are handing you a free, highly precise diagnostic instrument, pointing directly to broken internal systems that would otherwise remain completely invisible to management. This brings us to a highly counterintuitive truth in the hospitality industry, a phenomenon known as the service recovery paradox. This graph models two different guest journeys. The flat line represents a flawless visit. The guest encounters zero problems, and their satisfaction remains steady. The second line shows a guest who experiences a failure, dropping their satisfaction sharply into the negative. But when that failure is resolved exceptionally well, their satisfaction doesn't drop back to baseline. It spikes dramatically, establishing a new peak of loyalty that is measurably higher than the guest who never had an issue at all. As we zoom in on this upward trajectory, we can see the psychological inputs required to make the paradox work. When a guest voices an annoyance, it is a moment of vulnerability. They are frustrated, exposed, and seeking validation. If the staff immediately injects urgency and ownership into the situation, it signals to the guest that their voice actually matters. The operational response must be a warm, professional, and definitive yes. When you take ownership of the problem with honest concern rather than defensiveness, trust goes up. What started as friction transforms into appreciation and eventually admiration, locking in that compounding loyalty over time. Navigating these interactions also creates a concrete internal benefit. Each successful resolution requires problem-solving and emotional intelligence. As employees practice and succeed in these high-stakes moments, they build resilience. They learn how to handle tough situations, which reduces their stress and reverses the burnout cycle. Flawless service maintains satisfaction, but successfully navigating a failure proves the depth of a brand's commitment, often creating a stronger bond than a routine visit ever could. Ultimately, every piece of negative feedback acts as a stress test for your brand identity. If a boutique hotel heavily markets its personalized, attentive service, but guests consistently complain about feeling rushed and ignored, those complaints clearly expose the inconsistency between the brand's rhetoric and its actual service delivery. Of course, not every grievance is entirely legitimate. Some guests misinterpret policies, stretch the truth, or take out outside frustrations on your staff. It raises a practical question. Do unfair complaints still offer any organizational value? In hospitality, the guest's perception is their reality. Grace and equanimity in the face of an unfair complaint de-escalates the immediate conflict, protecting the professional atmosphere for all other guests. This is the dual nature of the hospitality ledger. The immediate financial drains and reputational risks remind businesses exactly why complaints must be taken seriously. But the long-term diagnostic data and the loyalty generated by a brilliant recovery prove why they shouldn't be feared. True excellence in hospitality is never found by hiding from conflict. It requires taking the feedback head-on, replacing defensiveness with empathy, and trading frustration for curiosity. By mastering this balance, hospitality professionals can turn the most disruptive moments of their day into the defining moments of exceptional service.